Good evening. So today I will be looking at quite a quick category as I'm looking at land cards in Shandalar and ranking them. There's only about, I think, 28 or 29, one of which is exclusive to Shandalar. And I guess it goes without saying that the typical base land cards, I don't really know how to categorize them because they're just an essential foundation of the game since day one. So I haven't quite decided how I'm going to rank, obviously, forest, mountain, island, swamp, and plains. But the other non-basic lands have kind of interesting different functions and abilities, so we will go through them and have a look. The first one, weirdly, is a card that I really have never seen in a Shandalar run, and I'm not very familiar with it. But essentially, you both choose a creature and they fight each other. So the use case would be you have a creature with a higher power/toughness than any of your opponent's creatures, and the arena allows you to, a bit almost as if you were playing Yu-Gi-Oh, in the sense of you choose what you attack, and yeah, they can choose one creature to block, but it's different to a situation where your opponent has, let's say, 3 or 4 creatures that could all team up and destroy one of your creatures, one of your attacking creatures. So it definitely has a use. I just think it's I might just put it as B. It's just really not one that I've really come across in a run or found to be useful, but it's one of those willing to be proven otherwise sort of situations. Certainly not useless. Badlands is one of the multicolored lands which are very valuable in Shandalar, and you can kind of see in future releases in Magic, such as with the Ravnica and all those kind of multicolored lands that normally have some kind of downside, like they come in tapped or have to return a land or deals 1 damage to you, sort of thing. So these kind of like freebie dual lands are really good. Huge fan of them. They're kind of one of the first things you try and get on a run, because you're almost always playing 2 colours. So I think I will probably... So I haven't quite decided what my litmus test for what an S is in terms of lands. I'm tempted to put these all these dual type lands. I wonder if I can remember what all of them are off the top of my head. You've got Badlands, Bio, Scrubland, Volcanic Island, Tropical Island, Plateau. I'm probably forgetting one. But yeah, Underground Sea, I think. Yeah, well, they're all really good. I might just put... So Badlands is the black-red one. Bio is the green-black one. They're lovely cards. Love the card art as well. When I come across the rest of them, I'll probably put them in S. We'll see. Bazaar of Baghdad is another one I've not really used. I'm assuming this is from Arabian Nights. Draw 2 cards and discard 3 cards. I think it's doable if you have a particular deck. For example, any kind of black deck that takes advantage of cards in your own graveyard, sort of thing. I think it could be quite a good way to just run through your deck in a bad situation. But yeah, I guess it's also worth saying there's no legendary keyword in Shandalar, so there's none of these lands are like you can only have one sort of thing. You can have so you could in theory have multiple Bazaars of Baghdad to guarantee you get one. Might put it on the same tier as Arena. I think it has a use, but it's not ubiquitous. It's not something I would guarantee would be useful to everyone. City of Brass is interesting. So obviously the use case is multicolored deck, guaranteeing that you'll always have the color you need. It's like Birds of Paradise but worse. I don't like the fact it damages you. I've never liked that, because over time, relying on City of Brass, you're just going to be basically hitting yourself in the face over and over again. I have a feeling it's probably sacrilegious to not put it as a high rank because I think it's a valued card. But I might just put City of Brass as a B again. I feel like people are going to complain if it doesn't get higher, because I'm thinking of Glimmerveil and other like really popular cards, like popular lands that serve a particular purpose. And I'm going to put it as B because in Shandalar, anything that has a life cost is even more risky in a game where you can start with 10 life. But we'll see. Desert, I actually do like Desert. Desert's probably an A because it has an ability and you can still use it as a mana source. And it's a really nice way to take your opponent by surprise because there's this whole arithmetic of how can I use my creature to deal damage or do something without it dying. So, what's the maximum amount of damage points it can take? And you kind of like do the math and think, okay, I can do this, and I'll have one life point left. I'll have 1 point of toughness left to spare, and then desert just tips it over the edge by surprise, and it's for free. And like I said, it's still a mana source, so desert is great. Diamond Valley, sacrifice a creature, you gain life equal to the sacrifice creature's toughness. This is actually really useful because there are certain creature cards like Onulet which have an effect upon dying, upon being sent to the graveyard. So you can trigger, and also there's a really good, I think it's called Ruck Egg. I think that's in Shandalar. But yeah, so basically having the ability to destroy one of your own creatures with a benefit. Would I say it's an A? Don't know if it's an A. I do like it though. I guess it's not. I guess I've now started a bit of a precedent where if it can't produce mana, it's inherently less useful. Oh no, it's not in my list. Why is Diamond Valley not in my list? There will be a little jump cut while I go find it. We're back. So it seems like some didn't get on my list for some reason. So Diamond Valley is here, and I'm going to put it as a B. And it was also missing Elephant Graveyard, which is one that's really interesting. So it has a as a mana source, regenerate target elephant, and this is particularly useful if you have, because I'm sure, I will double check this in a second, in fact I'll check it now. I'm pretty sure elephant as a creature type in Shandalar is... Let's have a look. Okay, well, I mean, you could, I think War Mammoth is obviously quite useful in a green deck, so being able to regenerate them. No, I'm actually changing my mind. I didn't realise there were so few elephants in Shandalar. I think this would have been a great card if there were a lot more. So I think Elephant Graveyard's probably a B. Or it's, no, let's put it as a C for a bit of variety. It's a shame. No, I actually completely changed my mind. I can't believe there's only 2 elephants in... Because there's an opposing player called Tusk Guardian, who I thought would have more elephants than that. There we go. Basic lands. Yeah, I don't know how to categorize a basic land because they're all essential. So I guess I just put them all as A. But they're just, you can't really not have a land card unless you're playing a very specific weird deck, which is probably not going to be very successful in Shandalar. Gem Bazaar is a great one. This is the Astral Shandalar exclusive one. It's City of Brass but random and doesn't deal damage to you. I like Gem Bazaar. I think Gem Bazaar can be really useful because you can just use it willy-nilly when you need it, just to make any mana source. And if there comes a time when you're missing a certain colour, you can kind of game it by using it in the meantime, and then if it suddenly, because you basically, the way it works in the game is you'll see the coloured tick that it will produce, because the colour choice is apparent before you tap it, so you'd know what you'd get, and so you could just say, okay, I need red mana, it's set to red, I will then not tap it until I need specifically red mana. So this one's an A, for sure. It's really useful, probably one of the better Astral cards, because obviously the randomness is normally a mess. Island, basic land, nothing more to say. Island of Whack Whack. The power of target creature with flying becomes 0 until end of turn. This could be interesting, I guess, as like a defense against flying creatures. Obviously you'd use that to defend yourself in an attack, but again, it can't produce mana. Effect is a bit niche, because you're just, if you have a deck based on not destroying enemy flying creatures, you're not using Winter Blast, or you're not using Wall of Swords, what are you doing? I don't know, it doesn't feel like a super useful card. I'm going to put this as a C. Library of Alexandria is a fun one. Again, is a mana source by itself. Draw a card, activate this ability only if you have exactly 7 cards. So, yeah, it is. I think this is a really good combination card with something like Howling Mine, to kind of just make sure you have those 7 cards. But then again, I guess with Howling Mine, you don't really need to have a card like this. I guess this would probably benefit something like a red deck, or a deck where you have a lot of kind of throwaway instant spells that you just can cast in quick succession to get them all out of your hand, basically. And the fact it is a mana source, so this would probably be a B or an A. I think maybe an A. I think it's a good card. Right, Mishra's Factory. You see this all over the place in Shandalar. People have it all the time. It's a mana source, and you can create a 2/2 creature, and you can pump it. It's very, very has lots of uses. It's probably easily an A, if not an S. It's not one I personally use, but I mean, you can't really say no to this card, especially early on in the game. And of course, just, yeah, maybe it does deserve an S, just because a land that can turn into a creature, and it's free to play, and free to play the card, and then for just 1 mana, you get a 2/2. And there's also the really useful ability that it stops being a creature until end of turn, which is actually a benefit rather than a drawback, because it means there's only a certain window of time in which your opponent could treat it like a creature and thus destroy it like a creature. Yeah, I think this could deserve to be an S. We'll see if I change my mind. But Mishra's Workshop, yeah, this is actually a good card. In terms of, as long as you're using an artifact heavy deck. So I probably would put it as a B, just because not every deck is guaranteed to be super artifact heavy. But I think this is a good one. I think it's useful. Did I say A or B? It's good. It is a good card, but not... I don't think... Yeah, I think it has to be a B, because not every deck is necessarily going to need this much mana for artifacts. I think it serves a really useful purpose in its own category, but... And then 3 mana... No, I changed my mind. I think 3 mana is... Because you could play this, and then... I guess the other thing to note is you're casting artifact spells, you're not activating the ability of artifacts. That's something else. Because often an artifact will have a cost to play, and then a cost to activate. So... I will see. I'll see. Basic Land is an A. Oasis, prevent the next 1 damage that will be dealt to target creature this turn. This is kind of like Desert, but slightly worse, because Desert still counts as a mana source. I think if Oasis counted as a mana source, it would be on the same level, but it doesn't, so it's just going to be a B, I think. Plains, Basic Land. Plateau, Savannah, Scrubland, amazing dual type lands. Extremely valuable. And also, obviously, it counts as both a mountain and a plains, for example, so it contributes to stuff like Spiritual Sanctuary. And then I guess the downside would be, well, then I guess, yeah, I mean, there's stuff like Conversion, which would turn it into just a plains, but yeah, just super useful. Because ideally you would have 4, like, for example, if you're playing a red-white deck, you would have 4 plateaus, just as soon as you can, really. Strip Mine's definitely an S. Really powerful card for land denial, brutal. It comes in hand with stuff like I've completely forgotten what it's called. The Blight. Comes that hand in hand with that. It's just great land destruction, and also you can play Strip Mine and destroy your opponent's land for free instantly on your very first turn. So it's great. Tiger, another dual land, another one that's not in my list. Okay, I think I missed one. Swamp is another A. Tiger is an S, because it's another dual land, Tropical Island, and Tundra, and Underground Sea. Maybe I'm putting too many things in S, but it's my list, and I can do what I want. Urza's Mine is one of these combo ones. If you have Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, and Urza's Tower, you can add more. They're all kind of the same. They will come together as a unit. I don't know how feasible, reliable, and realistic it is to try and have all three of these lands in Shandalar, particularly because some games can turn south really quickly. So I don't know if you really want to build a strategy around. I mean, they're all useful by themselves. It's not like they're useless until you have all three. But that does bring in a little bit of a handicap. I think if you're playing an artifact deck, these will all be good cards, and they're all mana sources. I guess I'd put them all as A. It's a bit of a weird list because they're kind of all falling into the same category. But yeah, they're all fulfilling a very similar. I mean, Urza's Tower is technically slightly better because you get an extra one. So maybe Urza's Tower should be the A, and the other Urzas should be Bs. But I don't know really. Volcanic Island is another dual type, so that should be an S. Yeah, I mean, this is a quick one because it's only really 20, maybe 29 or 30 cards actually. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, dual lands, amazing. Strip Mine, amazing. Mishra's Factory, really strong. Maybe Mishra's Factory should be an A, but I don't know. Yeah, that is it for today. That's a quick one. I do need to do the creature cards, but that's going to be a massive list. I'll have to do that at some point. That's me ranking all the land cards in Shandalar. Enjoy, and see you next time.